Coach Lance recorded the shoe sizes of the different players on his soccer team. He recorded the information in the table below. So each box is a person, and he wrote down what size shoe they wore. Use Coach Lance's data from the table to complete the frequency table and the dot plot shown below. Then answer questions A through D on the following page. So he went ahead and he looked at everyone's shoe size on the soccer team. He wrote it down in these squares. First, let's go ahead and fill out the frequency table. Whenever we fill out a frequency table, we usually want to start with the smallest number first. If I take a look at this chart of shoe sizes, the smallest number I see is 3. So that's what I'm going to start with. A size 3 shoe. Now I need to look through all these different people, and I need to see how many times do I see the number 3. So we've got one number 3, two number 3s. That's it. So for the tally, I'm going to put 1, 2 tally marks. And for the frequency, I'm going to write 2. There were 2 people on the team who wore that size shoe. Okay. Now we're going to go a little bit bigger in shoe size. To a size 3 1/2. I'm going to write that on my table. 3 1/2. And I'm going to look through my information here. I'm going to see how many players wore a size 3 1/2 shoe. 1 player, 2 players, 3 players. So for the tally, I'm going to put 1, 2, 3. And for my frequency, I'm going to put 3. Right? I'm going to move on to the next shoe size, which is 4. And who can tell me, if I look at my table, how many players wore a size 4 shoe? Kylie, how many players wore a size 4 shoe? Three. 1, 2, 3. Now, especially on problems like these, one of the things that I found that helps out the most is once you count a number, cross it out. That way you don't accidentally count it again, or that way you don't get confused and think you still have more left. We found 3 players that wore a size 4 shoe. So my tally is 1, 2, 3. My frequency is 3. I'm going to go to the next shoe size, 4 1/2. How many players on the team wore a size 4 1/2? Bailey? 5. So if I count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're going to get 5 tallies. Remember, whenever you are writing down tallies, once you get to 5, that's when you do your diagonal one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the frequency is 5. Okay. Next shoe size I see in my table is 5.5. 5.5. Now notice I didn't write down 5, but I don't see a 5 anywhere in here. Right, I've crossed out all the ones we've looked at. There's no 5, so that's why I'm just skipping to 5.5. How many players on the team were a size 5.5? Christopher? How many players on the team wore a size 5.5 shoe, Christopher? 2. 1, 2. So they get 1, 2 tally marks, and the frequency is 2. Okay, I still have a size left. Size 6. How many players on the team wore a size 6 shoe? Kylie? Just one person. So 1 tally. The frequency is 1. And I know I've used all of my data because look, it's all crossed out now. Now they said they also wanted us to fill out this dot plot. Dot plots are very similar to frequency tables. For dot plots, what you do is you look at each part of your number line, and depending on what number you see on the number line, you put however many dots you need. So for instance, the shoe size 3, there were 2 players that wore a size 3 shoe. So I'm going to look at my number line. I'm going to find the number 3, and I'm going to put 2 dots. 1, 2. Just like that. The only thing you have to be careful of with the dot plot is that however many dots you make and wherever you make them on your number line, you want them to be about the same size. So you don't want to have one with like really huge dots and one with like little teeny tiny dots. Gotta be even. If they're not exactly the same, that's okay. Just be close. 3.5. How many dots do I need to put for 3.5? How many dots, Bailey? 3. 1, 2, 3. Now again, making sure that my dots are about all the same size. But the reason why people like dot plots is because you can look at it and you can see pretty quickly which one has more and which one has less. Because you can see that one has more dots. What about 4? How many dots do I need to put for the shoe size 4? How many, Jada? 3. Ask them there at the hub, Christopher, see if they can help you out. 1, 2, It's okay, Jada. What about 4.5? Really? Five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What about 5? Kylie? 0. There wasn't anybody that wore a size 5 shoe. So I don't put any dots. I leave it alone. Leave it blank. What about 5.5? How many dots should I put for 5.5? Christopher. 2. 1, 2. And the last one, number 6. How many dots should I put for number 6? Or for, I guess, shoe size 6? Kylie. 1. So again, people like dot plots because it's very simple to take a look at it and see 4.5 for a lot of people that had 4.5. You could even see like, oh look, this one nobody had that one. Only one person had this. So dot plots are a very easy way to be able to look at the information and understand it pretty quickly. Back side of this page, there are a couple of questions about this information here. Problem A, how many players had a shoe size of 4.5 or less? So they want everyone that had a shoe size of 4.5 or less. So 4.5, 4, 3.5, 3, all of those. So we have to figure that out. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write down my numbers. 4.5 or less. So all of these, 4.5, 4, 3.5, and 3. Four and 1/2, 4, 3.5, and 3. Okay. Now I'm gonna write down how many players wore those shoe sizes. So how many players wore size 4.5? 5 of them. How many players wore size 4? 3 of them. How many players wore size 3.5? 3 of them. And how many players wore size 3? 2 of them. Now they don't want a list of numbers as an answer. They don't want me to tell them 5, 3, 3, 2. They want a total, which means I have to add these numbers together. This is still skills 5. It's just the backside of it. It'll say skills 5, page 2. So I gotta find a total. How am I gonna find a total here? What do I have to do to these numbers to find a total? Bella? Gotta add them. So let's add them. Again, I don't like adding a bunch of numbers at once, so I'm going to go 2 at a time. 5 plus 3. Who can tell me what's 5 plus 3? Jada? 5 plus 3 is what? 8. Okay. 5 plus 3 plus another 3. Who can tell me what is 8 plus 3? Kylie? 11. Okay. I got one more number, plus 2. What's 11 plus 2? Bradley? 13. That's a lot of people. 13 people on the team wore a shoe size 4 1/2 or less. B. After documenting the data in the table, Coach Lance realized he still needed to record the shoe size of 4 more players as follows. So he forgot some people. Someone who wore size 4, someone who wore size 3 1/2, someone who wore size 5 1/2, and someone who wore size 4. Add the new data to the original dot plot, then continue answering the questions that follow. So before we do anything else, we have to go back and add these numbers. So there's 1 dot we need to add to 4. One dot for 3 1/2. One dot for 5 1/2. And 1 dot for 4. That's what our new dot plot should look like with all the new information that we had to add into it. And it says how many players wear a size 4 shoe. So now that we've gone and added those people back, the people that he forgot, let's check. There's size 4. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 people wear a size 4 shoe. Answer choice C says, what was the largest shoe size recorded? Okay, let's take a look at our chart again. Which one is the biggest shoe size? Kylie? 6. So 6 is the biggest shoe size. And how many players wore this shoe size? There was one person. Only one person who wore a size 6. Problem D. How many tally marks were used to record the number of players that wore a size 5 or larger? Okay, so size 5 or larger. Okay. So nobody wore a size 5. But there were people that wore larger, 5.5, 6. So let's count these tally marks. 1, 2, 3. 3 tally marks. And then they have a pretty good question there at the end. Why must the 5 be included in the data set? So when we look at that number line that they gave us for the dot plot, even though we didn't have anybody that wore a size 5 shoe, why do we want to put a 5 there? Why do you think there should be a 5 even if nobody wore that size shoe? What do you think, Noah?
They were
You think it was a trick?
actually
Maybe. But why else do you think, Noah? Look at what they did with the number line. 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6. What do you think, Kylie? So the 5 is supposed to go before the 5.5. They can't just skip a number, right? You know what? Why don't we go back and why don't we add it to our table? So I'm just going to use my eraser here. And I'm just going to move these down. That way we can make space for the 5. So one person wore a size 6. And, ooh, you know what we forgot? We only put the dots on the dot plot. Remember he had other people he needed to add? We forgot to put them onto our table. So since we're fixing the table, let's go ahead and do that too. So for 5.5, there should actually be 1, 2, 3 people. For 5, there's 0. 4.5, there was 5. For 4, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 now. For 3.5, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 people. And for 3, there's still 2. Now they both match. Now, Noah, I liked your answer that maybe they put the 5 in there to try to trick people, see who was paying very close attention and who wasn't. But I also think Kylie brought up a good point, especially when we see the number line. Remember, number lines work off a pattern, right? And this one's going by half. 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6. And Kylie's right. If I'm working with that pattern, I can't just go from 4.5, 5.5. Because then that ruins my whole pattern, right? It gets rid of it. What's up, Kylie? Oh, I didn't. You're right. Sorry about that. 4. So Noah, I think on that question where it says the number of players who wore a size 5 or larger, I think that was supposed to be the trick. Because if people didn't see the or larger part, they would just go, oh, 5? There's no one. No one's there. It's 0. But really, it's not nobody. There should be 5 and or larger, which means these ones too. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So there were 4 people that wore a size 5 or larger. And why did they have to include the 5? Because they can't skip that number in the pattern. That was a good thing you noticed there, Kylie, that there was a pattern going on with the shoe sizes. But I like Noah's thinking too. I think about that a lot when I'm doing math. I try to make sure they don't find ways to trick me. I don't know why in math they love trying to find ways to trick you if you're not being careful. That's a good thing to keep an eye out for.